In today's class, we are going to look at balancing of chemical equation. Let's take a look at this equation. In chemical equation, we have two parts. This side, we call it the reactant side. Then this side, we call it product side. So chemical equation is divided into two parts, the reactant side and the product side. Now, let's take a look at this reactant side. This 8 here, this 8 here, these 2 here, they are called the number of atoms. They are called number of atoms. Number of atoms. And when you are trying to balance your equation, you do not touch the number of atoms in the equation. Do not touch the number of atoms in the equation. Now, let's look at the product side also. This is the atomic number. You do not touch it. The point to note, for you to balance a chemical equation perfectly well, you have to count the number of atoms on the reactant side and the product side to check if they are equal according to law of conservation of mass. If they are not equal, change their coefficients until they become equal. Once the atoms are equal, the equation is balanced. Let's apply this and see how it goes. Let's take the same equation. We have sulfur. 8 is the atomic number of sulfur in this equation. We have oxygen with atomic number 2. When they react, they will give us XO2. Now, let's check the number of atoms on the reactant side and the product side. So you just make a table. This is the reactant side, and this is the product side. Let's count. We have what? Sulfur. X. What is the atomic number? It is 8. We have oxygen. O. What is the atomic number? It is. Now let's go to product side. We have X. What is the atomic number? Atomic number is 1 because atomic number is 1 because here is it has atomic number what? 1 here. But you do not write it. Okay. So let's see, oxygen has atomic number what? In the product side. Now let's check. Let's start with sulfur. Here, sulfur has atomic number 8 here in the reactant side. In the product side, it has what? Atomic number what? 1. That means it is not balanced. Remember, for you to have a balanced equation, the total atomic number in the reactant side must balance with the total atomic number in the product side. So here, in the reactant side, we have what? 8 atoms of what? Sulfur. But in the product side, we have only one atom. That means it's not balanced. Let's check for the oxygen. In the reactant side, we have atomic number 2 for oxygen. Then the product side, we have atomic number 2 for the product side in the for oxygen. That means oxygen is balanced, but sulfur is not balanced. So what do? We go to the product side and try to change the coefficient. Remember, change their coefficient until they become equal. You do not touch the atomic number. What you change is only the coefficient. And where do you see the coefficient? The coefficient is the space you see before you see the element. Here, this is where the coefficient is. This is where the coefficient is supposed to be. This is where the coefficient is supposed to be. Let me still write it for you to see. So this is where your coefficient is supposed to be for this. This is where the equation is supposed to be for this. This is where the equation is supposed to be for this. So we'll do what? We are going to change the coefficients until they become equal. What do? We come to the product side. Then, let's clean this. Let's clean this. Now we come to the product side. Let's try to change the coefficient in front of the sulfur. So let's add 8 here to make it equal. We have added 8 here. I think I'll have to use another color. Okay, we've added 8 here. Now let's check again. Let's check again. Here, sulfur is 8. Let's check for the product side. Sulfur is also 8 here. So it's balanced. Now sulfur is balanced. So we also write it, then times 8. That means we have gotten what? 8 sulfur. Now let's go ahead and check for the oxygen. Here, oxygen is what? 2 here. But here, oxygen is no longer 2. Oxygen is now 16. This is 2 multiplied by 8 will give you what? 16. So we have times 8 will give you what? So you see, in the product side, we now have what? 16 oxygen in the product side. So we have to make the reactant side to have 16 for it to be balanced. So what do? You only change the coefficient. So you come here, you add 8 here. If you add 8 there now, 2 times 8 will give you what? 16. So here we have 16 oxygen here in the reactant side. Then in the product side, we also have what? 16. So we write multiply by 8. Then we have what? 16. Now let's go through it and see. The reactant side, we have 8 sulfur, 8 atoms of sulfur in the reactant side. Let's check the product side. The product side, we also have what? 8 atoms of what? Sulfur. Let's go for oxygen. Oxygen in the reactant side, we have 16, which is 2 times 8. We have 16 in the reactant side. Then let's go for the product side. We have 2 times 8, which was 16. The equation is what? Balanced. Remember that chemical equation obeys the law of conservation of water. So this equation now is. Let's go ahead and take another example. Let's take another example. Let's clean up and take another example. Let's have this chemical equation H2 reacting with oxygen will give us this product H2O. So we make our table, we have our reactant, we have our products. Now let's count. We have our oxygen, we have our hydrogen from the reactant, we have hydrogen. How many atoms of hydrogen do we have there? We have two, which is this. We have two. Then let's look at oxygen. How many atoms of oxygen? Is two. We have two here. Then let's quickly move to product side. We have hydrogen. How many atoms of hydrogen? Look at it here is two. We have two. We have oxygen. How many atoms of oxygen we have? Is one. We have one. So when you check that now, you will see that our hydrogen is balanced. They are equal. The number of atoms of hydrogen both in the reactant side and in the product side are equal. But oxygen is not equal. So what do? We change the coefficient. Remember, I always tell you, only change the coefficient. Now let's go ahead. Let's make oxygen the same atomic number, both the reactant side and the product side. What do? Let's try to add 2 in the product side. Let's add coefficient 2 here. Now let's check it again and see. Let's check it again. So let's start with hydrogen. Hydrogen in the reactant side is 2, but in the product side is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So we have times 2 is what? 4 product side. Now let's look at oxygen. Oxygen we have in the product side 2 times 1 is what? Is 2. So oxygen we have times 2. We have what? 2. So oxygen is balanced both the product side and the reactant side. So let's look at the hydrogen. Now, since hydrogen in the product side is 4, let's try to make hydrogen 4 in the reactant side. So what do? We add 2 to the coefficient of what? Hydrogen. So let's do that. So we add what? Here. Then when you add 2 there, 2 times 2 will give you what? 4 in the reactant side, and we also have 4 in the product side. That means hydrogen is what? Balanced. Let's do that. So is that going to be 2 times what? 2 equals to 4. So you see here now, you will see that hydrogen is 4. 2 times 2 is 4 in the reactant side. In the product side, 2 times 2 is what? 4. Hydrogen is what? 4. So hydrogen is balanced. Now let's look at oxygen. Oxygen in the reactant side is what? Is 2. Then in the product side is what? Is 2. So this equation is what? I hope you are following. Good. Okay, let's try to look at another interesting example before we go into polyatomic ions. Before we go into polyatomic ions. Now, let's go ahead and look at another example. Let's look at another example. Okay, let's look at this example. We have CH4 plus 0, 2. They react, give us CO2 plus H2O. Now, as usual, let's draw our table. We name it reactant. And we name this one what? Product. Of course, by now, you should know the side that is reactant and the side that is what? Product. Now, let's go ahead and so in the reactant side, we have C, we have H, we have O. In the product side, we have C, we have O, we have H, we have O. So let's list them out. Let's start from the reactant side. We have C. How many atoms of C do we have? It's one. Let's go to H. How many atoms of H, hydrogen, do we have? Is four. Let's look at oxygen. O. How many atoms do we have? Is two. Now let's move to product side. Our C is equals to 1. Then our oxygen is now equals to 2 plus 1, which is what is 3. Oxygen is what? So our oxygen is 3. Now let's look at our hydrogen. Our hydrogen is 2. If you look at this, you will see that the equation is not balanced. The only element that is balanced there is C, carbon. Is C that is balanced. Hydrogen is not balanced. Oxygen is not balanced. So what do? We change the coefficient. We change the coefficients both in the reactant and in the product side, or in the reactant side or in the product side. Whatever the case may be, we must make sure that at the end of the day, they are balanced according to law of conservation of mass. Now, Let's start working on hydrogen. Since the carbon is balanced, so let's start working with what? Hydrogen. So let's start from the product side. So product side, let's add 2 here. Okay, I'm going to use another this thing. Okay, another color. So let's add 2 here in the product side. Let's add 2 here. If we add 2 there, let's count and see. Let's count and see. So let's look at the hydrogen. Now hydrogen is now 4. 2 times 2 is now what? Is 4. So we now have to rewrite for hydrogen times 2 is what? 4. So you see that hydrogen has balance in the product side with what? Hydrogen in the reactant side. They are balanced. But oxygen has been affected. Now here is not going to be, oxygen is not going to be what? 2 oxygen plus 2 oxygen, which is what? 4. So oxygen is not going to be, let's rewrite our oxygen. So our oxygen has not changed. Let's write it and see. Oxygen is not going to be what? 2 times what? 2, which is equals to 4. So you see, our oxygen in the product side is now 4. Let's check for oxygen in the reactant side. It is 2. What do? We change the coefficient of this oxygen by adding it to what? Now let's add 2. We add 2 here. Sorry, I'll use this. We add 2 here. You see that now. So if you add 2 there, oxygen is now 2 times 2 is 4. So we now have 2 times 2. Now let's count again. Carbon is 1 here, correct? In the reactant side, 1 here, correct, in the product side. Oxygen is 4 here, correct? In the reactant side, 4 here, correct, in the product side. Hydrogen, 4 here in the reactant side, here in the product side. So that means this equation is what? Okay, let's take one more before we leave. Let's take one more before we leave. Let's look at polyatomic ions and see how we can balance it. Still the same way we did this. The same way we did. Okay, let's look at atomic ions. Let's see this. CaSO4 plus NaNO3. When they react, we have this product CaNO3 2 plus Na2 SO4. Now, as usual, let's make our table. We call here reactant. We call here product. We check for the number of atoms and make sure that they are the same, both in the reactant and the product side. Law of conservation of mass. Now, let's write them out one after the other. So we have Ca is equals to 1. Ca here is equals to what? Is equals to 1. Now, SO4, we write them together. SO4 is also equals to what? So, let's look at Na. Na is also equals to 1. NO3 is also equals to 1. Now let's go to product side. Ca equals to 1. NO3 is equals to 2. NO3 is equals to what? 2. Is equals to 2. Now let's look at Na and also SO4. So let's look at Na is equals to 2. Then SO4 is equals to 1. So how do we balance it? We check the ones that are balanced already. Ca is balanced. If you check here, you will see that Ca is 1. Ca is 1, so it's balanced. So SO4 is 1. SO4 is 1, so it's balanced. Here, Na is 1 here. Na is 1 here, but Na is 2 here. So you see, Na is not balanced. So what do? We come to the reactant side and change the coefficient of what? Na, so that it will balance with the product side, which is 2. So here, we come here, we put 2 here. Okay? We come here and we put 2. Okay, let's check it again. Na now is 2 in the reactant side. So times 2. Na is not 2. So in the product side, Na is also 2. It's balanced. But let's look at NO3. NO3 is no longer NO3 is no longer here now. NO3 is now going to be what? It's now 2. NO3 is now what? 2. NO3 here is equals to 2. So you see that NO3 is also what? Balanced. So here times 2, which is equals to what? 2. Now let's cross check again and see. Then Ca is 1 here. That Ca is 1 here. A is 1 here. We are considering the reactant side and the product side. So in the reactant side, Ca is 1. Product side, Ca is what? Is 1. Reactant side, SO4 is 1. Product side, SO4 is what? Is 1. Is balanced. So reactant side, Na is 2. Na is 2. Product side, Na is what? Is 2. Reactant side, NO3. Okay, we have done this. NO3 is 2. And product side, O3 also 2. So this polyatomic ion is therefore balanced. All right, so we'll come to today's end of the class. Come to the end of today's class. So we'll continue in the next class. Don't forget to send in any chemical equation that you're finding difficult so that we can balance it together. Thank you so very much.